I'm going to be.
Okay, start by standing for a few moments and giving yourself a chance to just consider your posture. Partly, of course, because posture is such a key part of the whole practice, the sort of ongoing cultivation of posture. And partly because the act of doing that does actually help you to settle and to arrive. So if you've done this for a while, then you'll have a kind of feel for it, and that helps. You want your feet directly below your hips, weight coming a little bit forwards, and then this is a little bit exaggerated so you can see what's going on. Just aware of this area of lower back and hips, and just let gravity pull your hips back so your pelvis levels off gently. And a feeling of dropping through your centre of gravity, rooting down. There's various ways we can sort of visualise, as it were, the posture, and different approaches will give you different perspectives, none of them complete in themselves. It can be useful, I think, to think of bringing your body into line with the pull of gravity. You actually want to bring a skeleton into line with the pull of gravity, so that the various muscles and tendons and ligaments support that inner framework. And said this a few times, that inner framework is supported in much the same way as the frame of a tent is supported by the guy ropes and skin. So there's an obvious hierarchy. Your legs are obviously going to be more important perhaps than your fingers in maintaining your posture. But generally speaking, the effort is spread, distributed through your body. So no one part of the body should feel overburdened. And then just begin to turn gently in your hips, feeling the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders, and an emphasis on movement rather than momentum or speed or range of movement. It's always one of the key characteristics of the postures that we take, I feel, is that they allow for a feeling of space within the body with that release of tightness, like wearing a shirt that's half a size too small. It restricts your movement, but half a size bigger than you strictly need, and you've got plenty of freedom of movement. And so we're trying to just cultivate that, and to cultivate that sense of movement, the pulse, the rhythm within your body. We can experience the movement in various ways, the obvious sort of physical, mechanical movements of muscles and joints and so on. Slightly more subtle is the sense of circulation and like the blood and with other metabolic processes, and in particular breathing. And as we do settle in, and this settling in gathers and calms our attention, and we become more aware of what's going on within the body, and aware of this underlying rhythm, this underlying pulse, might regard as just a sense of momentum or the flow of energy that underpins and governs these other movements. Try not to pull your belly in, tighten in your hips. And a key part of this is a switch in how we just almost unthinkingly perceive our body, we tend to see it from the head downwards, or from the hands downwards. In arts like Tai Chi and Qigong, it's the opposite way around. We start with an awareness of our feet, and it's as though we're looking sort of upwards and outwards from our feet, from the centre of the body. And this generally requires us to make a deliberate intention to do this. From a structural point of view, it makes more sense to build the body up from the ground in the same way that we might build a house from the ground, the foundation. You wouldn't start building a house by putting the roof on, because there's nothing to put the roof on. So one of the things to consider, if for instance you find maybe your shoulders are a bit tight or your upper back, rather than focusing your attention on that, if we can begin to think about what's happening in feet, legs, and in the centre of the body, whether those areas are providing the right kind of support for the shoulders, whether those areas actually themselves are tight and stiff, and that tightness, that stiffness will tend to push up through the body. So we can begin to allow space for our shoulders to drop in those circumstances. That doesn't mean that we're ignoring what's happening in the shoulders, it's just our approach to resolving that tightness. And since this is a process that we're deliberately cultivating, we're aware of it, there's a deliberate, conscious intention there. So it furthers this sense of our thoughts being grounded, being centered. So as I sometimes say to people, think of this more as a moving meditation than exercise. A lot of exercise creates, when we think of exercise, we often have a particular image of it that quite often works from the top downwards, and is often very concerned with what are sometimes labelled as external qualities, but kind of certain muscles, sometimes quite isolated, whereas in Tai Chi, we want to generate the movements from below, from within, and have a sense of the whole body moving as one unit. And that brings us back again to this sense of that pulse, that energy. So all of these are useful considerations. They're very much part of the whole art. And in some ways, they're those aspects of the art that we're going to take out of the practice sessions into our daily lives with us. So these early exercises are very simple, but they're an opportunity to bring these aspects of the whole practice to the surface so that they're available to us. They make good morning practices because of that. They also have a slight gentle aerobic quality and so on. So these are very traditional ways of starting a Tai Chi session. There's many variations on them. One of them is just turn the hands out, raise them up, and try and have an idea, an intention that rather than thinking, oh, I've got to get my arms here or here, the thought is, the intention is to find a position for your arms that's comfortable. So very aware of the sensations of movement in the big muscles of your arms, not holding them tight or stiff. And sometimes it's easier to get some of these qualities to the surface, things like the rhythm and the flow, in a faster movement. But then having recognised them, there's more chance that we'll bring them into the slower movements. And just let your hands drop down. Take 1 foot forwards. Keep the width of your step so your hips feel supported and about the same in length, and with a very definite intention to use the ground, to get that little sense of what we might think of as a push against the ground, to push ourselves forwards and backwards, letting ourselves drop into the other leg. And this is important because having begun to establish a structure, we're more likely to be able to maintain that structure when we move from the ground. Think of a pile of books on your table, and you just want to move them to one side. You wouldn't push on the top couple of books, because all that's going to happen is those books will fall off, the whole pile might collapse. Push on the bottom book, there's a better chance that the whole pile will actually move as one unit. And again, this awareness of the contact with the ground through the soles of our feet really anchors our attention. And then on the other side, so with that awareness of the ground and this feeling that we want our centre of gravity, the centre of our body, to drop towards the ground, rooting down, one of the key qualities in Tai Chi, one of the key principles. One of the outcomes of that is we do get a greater sense of stability. The lower your centre of gravity, the more stable you are. Going back to the pile of books, if you had a pile of books that you were stacking up, you'd have the bigger ones, the heavier ones at the bottom of the pile. Because if you put them at the top, it was going to be top heavy and fall over. So another reason, an important reason to really change that perspective on how we build up our posture. And then just shake out. So, coming back to the parallel stance, feet directly below your hips, you can imagine more or less parallel lines from shoulders to hips to feet. I say more or less because there obviously aren't any really straight lines in the body, so this is a kind of mental construct that we build. There's various alignments that we can become aware of. Most important of all is, again, this feeling of being in line with the pull of gravity, not being pulled forwards or being pulled backwards or sideways. Listen, feeling a little bit of a drop in your hips. That seems to create a little bit of space that allows your rib cage to drop. That in its turn allows your shoulders to drop. And feeling it's a slight overhang in lower back, and hips, buttocks, and just let gravity pull your hips back a little bit more. Your knees will bend a bit more. Go easy with that. And then at a certain point, you'll find that you just get pushed up. You feel that movement rising up through your body and then draining away again. So, once again, this idea of rooting down, it isn't simply about the physical stability. That's very important, I feel. But it's also one side of a process, a dynamic, energetic process of movement through the body. We feel that expansion upwards, and again, let it settle into a nice steady rhythm, a nice steady pulse. And eventually that will move your arms for you. You sink down, you curl your fingers under, pushing up, the expansion, pushing your elbows out. Turn your hands over as though they're draped over a ball, and you're in water, and you drop your hips and you press down. At the bottom, take a moment to turn your hands and then push up, so you're lifting the ball. And at the top, your arms rotate, palm down, you drop down. Trying to become more familiar, more aware of subtle details, subtle changes in the body. That's why I emphasize this rotation of your arms at the bottom and the top of the movement. These details can be very important, and one of the reasons that they can be very important is that it actually helps to stop you rushing. We can easily find ourselves with an exercise like this. We start off nice and slowly, and suddenly we're kind of like racing along. And sometimes that's because we haven't found up a useful speed. So you don't want to go painfully slowly. But quite a lot of the time, that speeding up is really just led by our lively minds. And we're not trying to reject that, we're not trying to push it away, but we're just gently redirecting it. So that lively mind is useful. It helps to make us more aware of subtle details and changes, and opens up a pathway for our intentionality. So this is the exercise rooting down. Making sure that when you push up, the intention is to feel that your body, like a plant, will sort of grow out of the root rather than having to lift it up again. Quality of the movement can be described again in various ways. So you're moving through water, so you're moving like water. So the movement within the body will gently massaging or bathing you. Turning your fingers out and pushing your arms away from your body. This is the wild goose. The various images that we use can be ways, again, of opening a pathway for our intentions. So these are a deliberate, intentional movements. Engage three aspects of mind, body, and energy. If an image doesn't work for you, don't let that worry you. Not every image will work all the time. And then letting your hands drop, crossing in front of your belly, push up, elbows first, and then drawing your hands around, parting the clouds. You may find your breathing just naturally harmonizes with the movement. If it doesn't, don't force a breathing pattern. And even if it does, you might find that every now and then you need to take an extra breath or slower or faster breath. This time, letting your arms drop down, just take a moment to register the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. And then pushing up and focusing on one side, again your elbow, drawing your fingers out, reaching up, wind your arm around, pull down. This dragon plucks the stars from the sky. A moment to feel the weight of your arms, to feel your hips sinking back, and then feeling the movement pushing up on the opposite side. So once again, that awareness of the stages, the details of the movement, helping us to stop rushing, but also helping us to recognise once again that the very drawing down, the rooting down as I called it earlier, actually creates the potential for that movement, that energy that arises through the contact with the ground. And this is one of the really key dynamics in Tai Chi. There are many forms of energy within our body. One of the really important ones in Tai Chi and Qigong is what we might think of as a kinetic energy, based on this rhythm of sinking down and feeling the push up. One more on each side. Okay, now sinking down, but then from here we come to that slightly higher stance, but still a slight sense of the hips dropping back, that gentle curve through the body. So a posture that still allows gravity to flow down through our body, and still allows that rising movement to flow upwards through our body. If we're standing knees stiff and locked, that blocks the movement, the hips are locked, back is tight, and so on and so forth. So just this sense of dropping downwards, and this is maintained for the next couple of exercises before we go into the next exercise in the series, which is pushing in four directions. An extra movement, bring your hands, place your hands on your belly just below your navel, press in gently and just turn in that center part of your body and see if you can feel just very subtle changes in the tissue beneath your hands. This area where you've got your hands is sometimes referred to as the lower dantian or just the dantian. It's the physical center of your body. So it's sometimes described as being like the hub of a wheel. It's the part of the body that connects all other parts. So it's a good part of the body to bring our attention to for that alone. But there's other important elements about this as well. It's the part of the body you want to feel is dropping towards the ground. And then this time, as you turn to your right, you feel the effect, your hip moves, your shoulder moves, and because your shoulder moves, it draws your arm out, and you feel this expansion through the side of your body. You turn back to the front, and you wait until the hand is drawn in by the contraction, again that rhythm of expansion and contraction. Turn the other way. So there's an expansion out from, and then back in, a contraction into the center of your body, to the dantian. Yang, to yin, to yang, to yin. One more. Facing towards the front. Bring your hands out. There's inside of your arm, lightly touching your hips. And then again, an expansion, this time upwards through your back. And back down. Again, making that light contact with the center of your body. And then pushing out. Palms of your hands turning out. And back. This time, as you push out, once again turning in your center and feeling again how that directs your arms. So another significant aspect of that central part of your body is how it guides the movements. Turning in the other direction and back, and then facing forwards and pushing out. Reminding yourself of that quality of the movement, flowing, massaging sort of quality. So you're moving through water. It's pushing in four directions. Notice if there's an urge to hurry, to rush, and just when you come back to the center, allowing that to sort of fade a little bit. This time, your arms drop down again, feel quite heavy. And again, focusing on one side, pushing your arm out, drawing your fingers back, letting your arm curve up, and then coming straight down in front of your nose, sternum. Again, your arm hanging, and then pushing out again. And then turning. Changing sides. We may find there's a difference between the feeling on one side of the body and another. not uncommon. One way that we can sort of almost bypass that is by recognising how significant the centre of the body is. Once again, regardless of which side we're moving with, it's responding to an expansion from the centre part of the body, or if you prefer, think of it from the ground, the centre's dropping towards the ground. Taking the effort, the emphasis away from shoulders perhaps, or our arms, and adding the turn. Letting your arms drop down. Once again, feeling that sense of your hips just being pulled down by gravity, allowing that to happen. But if we now deliberately push our hips back, the whole of the upper body tilts. And then, once again, just letting gravity pull our hips back down. So we come up to the upright position nice and easily. Still quite a strong movement on your back, so be careful. Dropping down, and then let your hips drop back and push up. Just go as far as you're comfortable going with this movement. And this time, as you push up, bringing your arms back into the movement. This is rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. Gentle extension through back and spine, arms and fingers. So moving as far as you're comfortable. And a useful reference here, something I mentioned earlier, that feeling of space within the body. If I go too far, I tighten up and I lose that space. So rather than having an idea that I've got to somehow perform and get my arms to a certain point, get a certain amount of bend in my knees or tilting in my back or whatever, I'm just seeing how far I can move whilst cultivating that space. Once again, feeling how important the centre part of your body is. Using the same idea, this time bringing your hands palm down in front of your belly. You turn, then push the hips back so the arms go forwards, letting your hips swing around, drop down, turn to the front. I am exaggerating this a little bit, so again, don't feel you have to move a certain distance. This is polishing the table. So you can see what my hips are doing from the back. Turn round. Excuse me. So most of what we do in Tai Chi and Qigong is done in the upright stance. When we do find ourselves angled, we come back to the upright, not by straining, not by fighting with gravity, but rather by allowing gravity to pull on our hips to bring us back up. One more in each direction. So last time. And then just come into stand. So as we stand here, there are various elements that contribute to us being able to stand with less strain, less tightness. I've already mentioned the alignment and the rooting down. That idea of spreading the load, the legs obviously taking a major part of this, the skeleton, and then the various tissues that help to stabilize the skeleton. And as we've just discovered with those last two exercises, a very specific role for gravity to pull our hips down, and that brings us very gently to the upright position. So that part of the idea here is that simply standing and by extension moving needn't be a fight, not with our own bodies and not with the pull of gravity. The combination of these things really cultivates this internal flow. And in Chinese medicine, that movement, that flow, and its quality of movement, the harmony of the movement, is a really important contributor to our well-being. So let's change the stance. Let's go back to this forward stance, the bow stance. Be a little bit more precise about the dimensions, the same as the width. You can see the background between my legs, and the same in length, so not a long stance, maybe a little bit longer as you drop your hips a little bit, and then once again more slowly this time, transferring your weight, giving yourself a moment each time you land in one leg to get that feeling of sinking down and to feel the push coming up. It starts to feel almost as though you're waiting for that energy to arrive and letting it move you and directing the movement. There's an intention here, say when you're in your back foot, that when you feel that wave-like movement is taken into the front foot. It's like being in the sea, waiting for a wave to pick you up and carry you into the beach. You sort of aim for the beach, as it were. Again, you can imagine doing this in walk up to shoulder height. You may start to be able to just get a sense of a resistance, a pressure that you're moving against, but not one that causes you to strain. And just feel how that feeling, that sensation moves in your body, back to front, front to back. Again, aware of very subtle physical and maybe energetic changes within the body. We learn gradually to bring our intention to these smaller movements and to view them as the building blocks, the bricks and mortar of the larger movements. And this is one of the key ways in which we bring together the three elements of body, mind, movement, energy. But we're not talking about this being mind over matter. We're not forcing the body. These three aspects work with each other. Next time you go into your front foot, if you push your back knee in, maybe feel the back hip drop a little bit and your heel comes up. And this means you can move a little bit more forwards. When we go back, you raise the toes, the front hip drops down, you move a little bit further back. So now we start to find that alignment, that spaciousness over one leg. Notice that I've just turned my front foot out just a little, not so much that it changes the direction of the movement, but enough to give me a little bit more space in my hip for my weight to drop. And then here, in the back foot, draw the front foot in, extend out again, put the heel down, lower the ball of your foot, gently press the foot into the floor, planting the foot and move the weight. You'll notice I changed my stance then. I wasn't quite wide enough. And so what we're trying to do is get the foot into position, plant the foot, and then move the weight. If I just drop my weight into my front foot there, it wouldn't have been so easy to change my weight, change my stance. Change over. Raising your toes and your heel. So take your time with this. Intention is to let the centre of gravity, your root, drop through your leg. Try not to lean over. Keep your body upright. Remembering that one of the key ways we do that is to allow gravity to pull our hips down, not stiff and tight. Stepping in. And then a few steps through, forwards or backwards, depending on where you have the room. It's taking the time and the space to reflect on the simple process of walking. And then going back. And shake out. Have your right foot forwards. We're going to bring the upper body back into the movement, and the sort of connection is through the centre of the body. So before we do this, once again, placing your hands on your belly, on the lower down chin, move your weight into your back foot and turn a little bit towards the front foot. Move the weight forwards, sink into the front foot and turn to your left. And back, turn into your right towards the front foot. Feeling again the movement in the centre of your body. A movement that we have real intention with. You know, we could be turning the other way. We might not be turning at all. So a lot of our attention is focused into that central part of the body, letting it drop towards the ground. So when we talk about terms like being grounded, being rooted, centered, Tai Chi, they're not metaphors. But now, this time, don't turn, just let your hands drop back, feel the weight of your arms hanging, and then pushing forwards, let your arms swing through, pushing them past the net. Your arms are moved by the energy that comes from the transfer of your weight, passing into the upper part of your body, feeling patterns of expansion and contraction that push your arms through, rather than trying to strain in your arms or your shoulders. Really smooth, fluid movement. So there's a slight curve upwards, a very natural curve upwards as your arms swing. And there'll be an echo of that somewhere in your body. So we don't have to strain, bring our arms up. And then this time, as you go forward, you settle in the front foot, and again you turn to your right, and that again redirects your arms. And then back. We have the exercise Wind Blows the Willows. Noticing where there are those patterns of expansion and contraction. Seeing if we can bring an intentionality to those and how that affects the movements of our arms. Okay. Change over. Starting your hands on your belly, weight in your back foot, and turn towards the front foot, towards the left. Moving forward, settle into the front foot, releasing in your hip as you turn. And then this time, taking that third option of the centre, not turning, letting your arms drop down, fisherman castanet. So this way, we feel that we're able to move our arms in different ways without having to strain or to stiffen in our upper body, and avoiding that sort of top-heavy feeling that can come with that stiffening and straining. It also means that the flow of the movement that is such a characteristic of these arts naturally arises. We don't have to create the flow. We're cultivating the environment within which the flow occurs. So then, Wind Blows the Willows. Recognizing that we inevitably lose these qualities of posture, of mind, and so on and so forth very easily, and recognizing beyond that that as we settle our weight into the feet, we have an opportunity each time we do that to reset ourselves to find those qualities again. Combining this with the stepping, so I'm going to go forwards, but it depends where you have room. So I go into the front leg, I push my back knee in, I bring the foot in. This is dragonfly skims the water. Remember, your hips are dropping back here. Step through and plant the foot as you move the weight, letting your hands drop down. Again, notice my foot is slightly turned out here. Front foot, back foot is already turned out. This is where we reset the posture. And what we may find is that having reset the posture, we're then able to gently raise the empty leg. Change in direction. Bring your feet back. Shake out. Now, rubbing your hands together and then tapping over your face. Light but rapid movement, working up over your head and neck. Down from one shoulder, and then your arm, feel the vibration in the muscles and the fingers. Do this on the other side. Just the lower back, gently on the lower part of your back. Around your hips. And your legs. Get down the outside of your legs, up the inside. Right onto your belly and onto the upper part of your chest. And our final exercise, once again with this idea of a returning, a resetting. Coming back to the parallel stance, sinking down again, and then pushing up, body expanding, but then drawing in, bringing your arms around so you're holding the ball against your chest. Further in, and then sinking down, embracing tiger, return to the mat. One more time. Letting your hands come to rest either down by your sides, or once again, gently on your belly. Give your legs a shake. That was lovely. Thank you very much, everybody, as always. So, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.